Marvel has a little bit of a CGI problem. You don't notice too much of it in the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer for Quantumania, but it's definitely noticeable in their television series, particularly She-Hulk. She-Hulk looks really bad. I don't know how many of you agree with me, but the CGI in that show wasn't top-notch. It's been like that in a few others. They take a lot of shortcuts. Some scenes are really well done, and some scenes are done a little bit less than the others. They do that to save time and money. There's a lot of stuff going on with their CGI. Really big article that came out in Vulture talking about how bad Marvel treats the visual effects people and how a lot of the really good ones just don't want to work with them anymore. They'll turn them down. Now, I'm not saying Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is going to be bad. I think, in fact, this movie will make a lot of money. The trailer looks good, but there is some stuff that I'm questionable on, particularly MODOK. So here's the part in the trailer where he comes on at 56 seconds. I've taken some pictures, and when you look at this, it's literally just a stretched out face. I don't know how well you can tell from this picture, but if you go from this, where it's a little bit more clear, this looks awful. I don't understand why they didn't just go with what he's supposed to look like here, which could have been a little bit more goofy looking and wouldn't look as bad, because this is just a stretched out face. Now, I'm not saying like he's going to totally look like this. That could change. Maybe this is just Form 1 or something. I don't know, because there's another scene in the trailer where his eyes are lit up, and I didn't think that looked as bad. But this looks awful to me. It looks lazy and cheap. And when you take a look at what's going on with the company, CBR put out this article, Marvel's visual effects talent pool is dwindling as artists avoid working with the studio. You take a look at the actual article, and there's a lot going on about how pretty much a lot of people are just turning down Marvel. They want nothing to do with them. I thought this was really interesting. They do a lot, like Marvel, I guess, eats up a lot of the visual effects people in Hollywood. And what they're trying to do is unionize, because Marvel is trying to pay them pretty much pennies on the dollar and overworks them. It's an interesting read. And, you know, I wonder if this is going to turn into a big problem with them, because as more people don't want to work with them, what are they going to do? She-Hulk really exposed just how bad some of the CGI is. If you remember when CGI, when the trailer first came out for She-Hulk, that's when I noticed a lot of people talking about this, because the CGI in that show doesn't look very bad. Doesn't look very good. She at times looks like an old PlayStation game model, like from PlayStation 3 or 4. It's not a good look for a company that's so big. But you've got people flat out saying no to them. This first little bit is really telling. So you got this guy that worked on Tenet. His name is Mark Patch. He's a veteran of the visual effects studios or companies. This was really interesting to me. Listen to this. Then there was a job itself. On average, feature-length superhero or sci-fi movie might have 1,600 visual effects. He says this 10-hour show, which he cannot give away because of an NDA, would require 3,000 visual effects shots to be completed on a much shorter timeline. I want to point out he's talking about working on a Marvel show. Nonetheless, the shows must feature quality work as expected, which could include anything from replacing actors' faces to rendering entire CG sequences from scratch. Confronted with the prospect of what he was told would be an 18-hour days, 7 days a week for 3 months straight, Patch walked away from the contract. They said, well, okay, do you want a job on our next show? He said, no. Now, that is telling. So, I don't know a lot of the names in the visual effects industry. I'm just going off of what this article is saying, but Mark Patch is basically a representation of a lot of people in the industry itself. So you've got a top guy, a veteran, that's worked on some stinkers like 2016's Ghostbusters, but he also worked on Tenet, which was actually a decent movie with some pretty good effects. So, you got one bad, one good one. But my point here is you've got people that are really good in the industry that don't want to work for Marvel. They want nothing to do with Marvel, and they're flat out walking away from working with the company. And when you look at this, it really does start to explain why a lot of the effects are shit, because they pretty much have to go with people at the bottom. They're paying a lot less, too. 20% less than other studios, as it's quoted here in this article. Pretty telling. So I don't know what they're going to do. Now, what the people in the industry are going to do is they're attempting to unionize, making the first visual effects union. I guess it would be different than the Actors Guild and a lot of the other stuff. Probably, a little bit the same. It would be standard union, but it would get them better treatment and pay because there is none that exists. And that's, of course, going to drive up costs for Marvel. Like, they're being cheap as shit. And the reason they're being cheap as shit is because they're cranking out a lot of content. I mean, Marvel is cranking out a lot of content. You look at how many movies are coming out this year alone from them. I think 3. You're getting Ant-Man. You're getting the Marvels. And I think something else is coming out, but that's still 2 big movies. And then you've got a show coming out, I'm pretty sure, like 1 or 2 Disney Plus shows. That's a lot of content in 1 year. In 1 year. So when you're eating up that much work, you've got to pay a little bit better. These people don't want to keep up with it. They're being cheap. It's been hurting their stuff. So this is going to turn into a big problem for them because the budget's going to balloon up because they're going to have to pay union rates, which I'm sure are going to be a lot more than what they've been paying. But it's just crazy to me that the bigger names in the industry are tired of them and they don't want to work with them at all. And it shows. It shows in what they're doing. I mean, this looks awful to me. This is a shitty MODOK. It's a stretched out Patton Oswalt face. I'm not saying that's Patton Oswalt, but it don't look good. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all this. I thought this was an interesting story. Kind of gives an insight to why so much stuff looks bad with Marvel right now. Let me know what you thought about this. What do you think the future is for them? Is this going to hurt their releases? What are your thoughts? Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Check out my Rumble, my locals, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my locals.